Oh, so we're back. So I've been letting the National sit here and kind of percolate a little bit. I checked the power supply's ripple. It doesn't seem abnormal. There's a couple volts on there. Usually I check the... Go on. Yes, make sure you hit the tripod. Get out of here. Well, if it isn't the police helicopter or the neighbors blasting their music, it's apparently the cat banging into the tripod. Anyway, now that's really irritated me. Now that it has really irritated me. So usually what I do is I check the ripple. You can do that with many voltmeters, but not all of them will do that. Some of them, if you check the ripple with the AC function of your voltmeter, the DC that's on there will bias the voltmeter and kind of block that, and you won't get a true reading. You might be able to put a small capacitor, like I don't know, maybe 0.1 microfarad in line with the positive lead, and that will block the DC, and you should be able to see the ripple on there. So anyway, I've only got a couple volts there, so it seems to be pretty good. So I've been slowly sneaking this up, just watching it and fiddling around and kind of junking around. I forgot to mention too that one of the other things I got out of that building was this Variac. It seems just fine. It's a little banged up, but it's a power stat one. You need to have a Variac clearance sale, I guess. For some reason I'm getting quite a pile of them. They kind of come in handy, and they're usually a little bit expensive. This one's actually got a pretty nice box, but anyway. One of the things I noticed about the Nationals, it seems to be drifting a little bit, but that's to be expected. I'm not up to the full mains voltage it was designed to run on. And one of the little tricks here, I'll show you real quick, is the National actually has a voltage regulator tube. It's right here. That's the OB2, and it's not, I don't believe it's fired yet. That's kind of a gas regulator tube. For lack of a better word, it's a vacuum tube version of a Zener diode. So we can turn the mains, when it fires, it's sort of like a neon bulb actually. When it fires up and starts to regulate, we'll see it turn purple here. Here's the accessory socket I was telling you about, excuse me. There it goes. That little pop. And right there, see it? So anyway, it's interesting. I picked up a little bitty hum in the speaker. Nothing to write home about, but there may be something going on there. We'll get you back on the tripod. Okay. So maybe the National won't drift around so much anymore. That's funny. Now that the regulator and stuff's running, the thing is drifted and it's come out of tune.
Think you're fat? You might just...
DC News.
Your Omaha area forecast from the Nobby's Party Store Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on News Talk 1290.
Chilly start this morning with cooler temperatures and a northwest breeze. It'll feel like the 20s in most spots. Lots of sunshine will let us warm up this afternoon to the mid-50s. Staying windy this afternoon with northwest winds 15 to 20 miles.
So much for the weather. So what I've been tinkering here with, just basic, is the tuning. I haven't fiddled with the band spreader, the RF gain, and the audio, and then the trimmer. Those things kind of have a direct effect on the ability for the radio to receive a station. One thing I did notice is the gain on this seems, I guess I'm going to use the word, it seems a bit high, like it has too much. Now granted, all these stations are here in town. That's interesting. There's a little AM kind of an oldie station down there. It appears to be gone, or the radio can't hear it. Well, I'm going to say it's down for right now. Well, things appear to be working. I just kind of start adjusting things here and making note of what things seem to be off a bit. So far, I haven't stumbled onto anything. I guess we haven't played with the band spreader. Well, things seem to be working, so maybe we got to wander away from the broadcast band. It's not terribly exciting down there, and see what there is to see up in the real world, the shortwave world. Where the shortwave band starts and stops is a little debatable. The stopping of the shortwave band is traditionally 30 megahertz. I think that's pretty fair to say. The start is a little debatable. I've seen it say 3 megahertz. I've seen it say 2 megahertz. And it's, I don't know. I always figure anything above the broadcast band's range is about, around in there, is about 2 megahertz. It's at least 3, so from 3 to 30 megahertz. So we'll go up a little higher than that. We'll just go up where there's some stuff about this time of day. It's kind of morning-ish. It's a little later in the day. It's about 10 o'clock, actually. What the trimmer does there is the trimmer matches the antenna to the radio's network there a little bit. Quiet. So the band switch is a little wonky there. That's to be expected. There's a big canister up on top. It's about that long, and I think that covers up the band switch. Actually that covers up the tuning cap. The band switch is underneath the bottom there.
It's because God sent Hosea to that unfaithful house of Israel. And this is...
Yeah, it's quiet out here. It's awfully quiet out there. Maybe this thing doesn't hear very well. Well, where could we go where there'd be some noise? I was trying to listen to the amateur bands there on 40 meters. It seems a little quiet. Well, we're back here, so we're kind of tinkering around. And of course, the day I decided to work on the National, the universe has decided to fight back. It seems to be a really crappy day for shortwave. That's WWV on 10 megahertz, and it's just been moving all over the place. It drifts down to practically nothing. I got the receiver wide open, and all of a sudden it'll just take off and go to, plus 30. See, there it goes. It's very weird. Oh well. Anyway, we didn't want to. Anybody can do that. One of the things I was doing here was all the tuning caps and the band spreader and the trimmer cap are all under this lid. This is just 4 screws. And I just took it loose and peeked under here. And a couple things come to mind. One is, God, this is pretty nice. Some very nice tuning. You know, a radio really is only good as a couple parts. It has to have a good power supply. If you have a lousy power supply, you have a lousy radio. And the tuning, if the tuning is crap in the thing and it's hard to use, then you have a cruddy radio. There's a few other things you could argue about, but those things can be improved. Now, one thing that came to mind here, this is actually a piece of kind of engineering, anyway, this is actually a really piece of nice engineering. There is this dial here. What happens is the tuning, there's a wheel, kind of a split pulley that rides on there. You can see that by this little mark, this little bitty mark here. Both these just run around there, they kind of pinch the thing. The HQ170 and its brothers and sisters kind of work that way. So there's a gear here that goes to a split gear to take out the backlash that drives these. These are really interesting because they've actually machined away on these dividers. They've machined places in here so that the plates capacitance doesn't interact with the capacitors. If I put my finger there, no, that's not a fair test, but it does. That's what that's about. One of the other things I saw here, which I was none too pleased about, but it didn't surprise me, is all this. See this white residue there and there, and it's there and there, and it's all over the place. It's corrosion is what it is. Or fortunately, it's nothing super bad. And that tube is rather warm. I've just been reaching in there with a cloth trying to clean it off and kind of putting a slight film of oil on there just to kind of discourage that from happening again. This sat somewhere probably damp. So I've had the thing on most of the day, and it's reasonably well behaved. There's a couple issues. We talked about those earlier. So my buzz is kind of going down, which tells me that cap is reforming, and also that it's screwing up. So I probably will need to replace that. That's actually probably a good point. Notice that this cap, so this is one of the filter caps. See how it sits on this insulator? This is actually above ground. Well, that's a relative term. It's above, there it is, looking for my voltmeter. It's above the chassis, kind of common there. We can prove that quick enough. We'll just clamp this on here. This should be, well, here we go. That looks like a good common. And we adjust that there, yeah, so it's 42 volts below the chassis, or the chassis is 42 volts below that. You have your choice. So yeah, a little issue there. So if I replace that, I'll have to be damn careful not to break that insulator. Now, I actually do have some of those insulators squirreled away that have never been used, but I prefer not to use them if you're careful in the first place. Here's another little time bomb I saw too. There's some corrosion. This is the bandpass filtering, and it's a little gunky in there. I got brave and plugged the FM demodulator module in. I just noticed that all these tubes are screened. The values that go in there are the tube types that go in there, except this one. This one looks like a rubber stamp. I wonder if they used this chassis on something else and made some subtle engineering changes. It's plenty nice. It runs a little warm. It's a little toasty, and that transformer's, yeah, it's warm. But so far, things are going along swimmingly. Like I said, we have a few things to fix up. You can see there goes WWV. One of the things I'm a little puzzled about is the automatic volume control on this. And dang it, I never did look that up in that book. So I'll have to put this back on, this shield, and I need to give it just a light cleaning. I think what I'm going to do is just clean it off with some general purpose window cleaner just to get the dirt off of there. So I've been cleaning around in here and lubing all these little spots. I've also put some contact cleaner on. There are a lot of these little conductor fingers that help the tuning cap maintain conductivity, and I've been putting some cleaner on those and just carefully trying not to bend them or do anything to really disturb them. There's some points in here I oiled just a tiny bit. They're almost all brass. They look like they're brass riding on brass kind of bearing surfaces. So they're probably not going to get any slippery, but a little tiny drop of oil will not hurt anything. And I just use the Zoom spout stuff. You can go get some Mobile One synthetic oil or whatever you want. It doesn't matter. So a little more cleaning, and we'll get that lid back on and kind of go on down the road and get on to the next problem here. Anyway, take it easy. Have a groovy day.